Welcome, my little gluten-free muffins. This is stamina and strength full body workout with no equipment. So we're gonna keep our heart rates pretty high, so we'll be in those calorie burning zones and we won't have as much rest. But if you need more rest, please definitely just take more rest, okay? So meet yourself exactly where you are, and I promise we will get a good workout regardless. So join me on your mat. Okay, so I know that I said you didn't need any equipment, but you do need a towel or a blanket for padding your knees if you would like that. And also you can use it right now to sit on top of. Find a comfortable seat, and let's bring ourselves a little bit closer to our centers. Close the eyes, settle the shoulder blades, relax the jaw. Take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Once again, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And begin to close the lips and breathe through the nasal passages. Let the belly move on your breath. And set an intention for your practice today. Carve out this time for just you to take care of this home, which is your body, or this body with which is your home, synonymous. And everything else that you need to do will get done. And hopefully it'll get done even better because you have taken care of yourself first. Bring your hands together to your heart. I'm going to Om. You can Om with me or just listen. Inhale fully. And bow the head down, lengthen the back of the neck, bring the hands to the legs, and then we're going to continue to roll down, rounding the spine. So really getting into the area between the shoulder blades, draping the head. Inhale, roll up and reverse that into a very slight upper thoracic back bend, opening the heart, shoulders back. Exhale, round in. So a bit of a seated cat-cow. And inhale, draw the shoulder blades back, lift the sternum. And then neutralize and shake out the shoulders, check in with the neck. Whatever is already giving you messaging that it's holding or working too hard, ease that out. And we're gonna start in a downward facing dog here. So hands come down to the floor, toes tuck, lift the hips up and back, and we'll just get a little blood flow through the body into the spine, get some synovial fluid into the joints, and start to bend one knee and the other. Blood flow to the muscles, I should say. Back and forth. And we're gonna go back and forth a little bit more here. So walk your hands back to your feet, bend the knees any amount. Inhale, rise halfway up, slide the hands up the shins. Exhale, fold, and as you keep exhaling, walk into a plank pose. Inhale in your plank, exhale to your second downward dog. Pedal it out. Don't expect a ton of length here, just be really sweet. And then from here, inhale, exhale, walk back into your fold. Inhale, rise halfway up, knees might bend. Exhale, continue walking all the way into your plank pose. Inhale in plank, and exhale, downward facing dog for the third time. This time we'll change up the direction of the hips in the socket. So we're gonna go externally rotated, toes point out, feet are about 10 inches apart, or rather heels are. Press your heart back, open the chest, and opening the sides of the legs as we take that external rotation with an optional shift left and right of the hips. And come to center, turn the toes slightly in. This, I always mention that this movement comes from the hips, not the knees. So you're rotating the head of the femur in the pelvis and press the heart back, and you might Rock a little side to side. Oh, I'm really feeling that. I wonder if you guys are feeling that as much as me. I definitely am. Come into classic heels back, downward dog. Draw right into your plank pose, and this is where we'll lower all the way down. So if you want to put your knees down for this lowering, you can, or you can rock the heels forward and move more through chaturanga for that. Tops of the feet down to the floor, elbows and shoulder blades draw back, and then without jetting the chin forward, keep your gaze more low and lift so you're working the paraspinal muscles and the upper back quite a bit. Breathing here. This is a tough pose. This is not one of my favorite poses, but it's one that I can tell I need to do because of the work that it's doing. And because I'm not, quote, good at it. Inhale. Exhale, come on down. Tuck your toes, press into your hands and knees. Draw the organs towards the spine. Press up to all fours. And exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale in downward dog. Exhale, walk your hands back to the feet. Inhale, rise halfway up. Exhale, fold. This time, bend the knees deeply, round the spine, and roll. So you're drawing your organs, scooping the belly, organs towards the spine, and roll one vertebra at a time up to your standing position, mountain pose. Shoulders eventually draw back, stand tall, bring your hands to your heart, and find your breath with your alignment. So we're going to stick with a little more of that opening of the chest and working the paraspinal muscles, similarly to what we did prone on the floor. So find the back of your mat. Step one set of toes, doesn't matter which, back behind you. Roll your shoulder blades onto your back, lift your sternum up, get really tall, broaden through the chest, and stay here or lift your back set of toes, spread those toes. So it's a standing back bend. Now bring the back knee in and up, bring your hands to your heart. Breathe here, find that balance. If ever it's too much, just kickstand the toes down to the floor. You can extend that front leg higher up or lower down. Put your heel down, sole of the foot, then the toes, and now you're kind of kickstanding the other leg back. Roll the shoulder blades onto the back, lift the heart. Only lift the back toes if that feels doable, working through the glutes and hamstrings, calves, spread those toes wide. Bring the knee in or kickstand it down next to your other foot. Hands to your heart. And any amount of extension, could be low down. Heel, arch, and toes. Then press back, maybe lift that foot a little higher if you're lifting. Draw in for your balance. This time extend the arms up and maybe extend that leg, but we're not gonna take the heel forward. We're gonna bring that knee back to a bend and put it right back down beside the other. Inhale, reach up. So feet are next to each other. Exhale, hands to your heart. And then from here, press back with the opposite foot, roll the shoulders back, and lift a little taller, a little higher, a little more work through the back body. And draw in, hands to heart, knee in. Maybe extend the arms up. Maybe extend that front leg. If it is extended, bend the knee. Put the foot down beside the other. Inhale, open the heart. Exhale, fold down and come into a plank pose or a knees down plank. From here, we're going to start to tap underneath us. So as if there's a button that is to the sides and you're letting your opposite foot go underneath you, crossing the midline and tapping that button. So that works our hips and our core differently than if we were coming to the same side. So we want to cross that midline sometimes. If you want a little bit more, this can turn into a little bit of a light hop with a faster movement. This is already really hard, so it doesn't have to be. If you're in knees down, I should have said, you're crossing underneath your midline like this with the knees. All right, downward facing dog. Deep breath in and a big sigh out. From downward dog, lift one leg up into the air. Bend it in for a hanging plank. Lift your heel into the sitting bone even, and seal that down into a lunge. Hop your feet a little bit wider apart so you have a little more balance here. And we're gonna rise up and reach up. Torso up, arms up. Now, waking up the legs and the hips a little bit more, straighten and bend. If you want to bring the arms into a straightened bend, turn your palms forward, bend elbows, bend knees. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, open the heart and come into the bent knee. Last one. And then straighten the legs, turn the toes into a wide-legged position, and exhale, we'll go into the hamstrings and give ourselves a little sweetness. Sway side to side. Keep breathing. And then transition to the top of your mat, low lunge, take it back into a plank pose. And this time, we're gonna press a button, same side. The button is on the same side that the foot is pressing. And that button might be halfway towards the wrist, maybe a quarter of the way towards the wrist, or all the way up right behind the wrists. Again, if you're on the knees, you're just tapping like this, okay? Still really working the core. And downward facing dog. Take a deep breath in. Let a big sigh out. Let some of your cluttered thinking go. Simplify your moment. Lift the other leg up. Hug it deeply in. Lift that ankle. Seal down into your other side lunge. Separate the feet. And as you're ready, rise up and reach up. Once you feel settled there, you can start to straighten and bend. The bend is in the front knee. And then from here, you might take a bend into the elbows as well. Up and down. So yes, there's an element of balance here because you're moving this posture. Go at whatever pace works for you. Inhale, reach. And exhale, turn the toes forward into that wide fold. Exhale, fold. Hello, and take a little swish side to side. Now on this one, my body is telling me that my body wants to bend the knees, to get into the hips and groin differently. If you want to stay more straight leg, absolutely. Transition into your low lunge, come back into plank, and then from here, go all the way down onto the belly again. However that looks for you, as long as it feels right. We'll go into that baby cobra from before, but enter it as if you've never been here. Elbows back, shoulder blades on the back, tops of the feet down. I like to take my feet hips distance. And then inhale, come all the way into that cobra. Maybe go a little higher and feel that work differently in the spine, a little bit lower than when you have your chest lower. So this would be upper. I feel this more here, kind of in that bra line when I come just pretty low. When I come a little higher, I feel it more towards the lumbar. Inhale, exhale, come on down. Tuck the toes, take your hands alongside of the chest, elbows back, lift your organs towards your spine, press into the knees, press to all fours. This time, we'll go into whatever child's pose variation feels good, and maybe a little bit of a swish and sway here. We're gonna prep the forearms and the wrists a little bit more, and then we'll come into more of the HIIT or the high intensity stuff, which we will have options to make less plyometric, less jumping, or no jumping at all, okay? So we all have options. Come to all fours, turn the fingers towards you, and stay in that position and breathe. Only if you're not getting enough stretch do you then maybe tuck your toes and reach the hips back, shoulders back a little bit. Keep breathing. Just prepping those a little bit more. And you might peel the hands back and shake it out. So from the knees, and of course you can always put your blanket down. We're only kind of using this as transition. You're gonna step one foot forward. Again, you're choosing which foot goes forward first. Back toes tuck, And then from here, there's a minimal lift off the ground, okay? So we're hovering and we're really trying to get into both legs, especially now that before that back knee was lifted, now we're hovering. And then we're gonna just do a little lift and lower, really concentrating on the legs. If you want a little bit more, arms go up. So we're having to pump blood even into the extremities above us. 3, 2, 1. Straighten the legs, turn the toes forward. Yes, you can see there's a bit of a theme because we're using that transition from before. Turn the heels in, this time goddess squat. Waking up a little bit of a stretch and some work through the adductors here. Optional lift of the heels alternately, or stay in that held position breathing. Another option is arms up. Breathing here. Ooh, this is not something that we just generally do every day, right? So really making our brains and bodies strong. Heels down, stand up. Good, and then turn towards the other direction of your mat, so your other foot that you didn't have forward first will be forward, and then lower all the way down, knee down. Again, blanket can be there. This is just getting ourselves steady and set up. As you're ready, tuck the back toes, minimal lift. Hands to the heart, and then little tiny range of movement up and down. This is a huge one for the quads. Also for the glutes and hamstrings, but I really find that that back knee bending really gets into those quads as well. 3, 2, 1, straighten. Turn your toes towards the long edge of your mat. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, bring your hands through to your heart. One more time, inhale, reach up. Exhale, bring your hands through. All right, we're gonna turn towards that first direction, lift that back heel, and just take yourself into a plank pose. Now, earlier we went underneath and forward. This time, we're going to use the work of the hands rather. So instead of the feet moving, you're going to cross the midline underneath you and tap whatever you can touch on the opposite side. So for me, that's kind of the top of my thigh. It might be your hip bones, might be the opposite sides of your rib cage, whatever that is. I've got my feet wider than hips, distance apart to help me balance. Really beautiful core work, drawing the organs towards the spine. One more each side, and then wide-footed downward facing dog. Breathing in that wider footed position, settling down the overthinking. Shake out any pots and pans that need to come out of the mind. This time, keep your feet wide, but not quite this wide, so you can take your feet a little closer in. Walk back as you bend the knees, fingertips walk back to the feet, and you're in a nice wide, more of a bear pose here. Toes pointing, knees pointing towards the toes, and hips are knees height or a little higher. Stay here or reach your arms forward, sides, or back if you want more work in the back body. And then we'll do a tiny little lift and lower again. This time we're not separated, but we're more symmetrical left to right. Really getting into those legs. If you want to really work the balance today and make this even harder, you will do the lift and lower with your heels lifted. Oh my goodness. I'm sure you can see the shaking. 3, 2, 1. Heels down. Slower than slow transition up. We do get strong in the transitions if we actually use the transitions for that reason and don't rush them. Exhale, hands to your heart. Deep breath in and shake that off. Woo. All right, so find yourself in a mountain pose. Bring yourself into your highest personal regard. And we'll do some pushing and pulling, which is so integral really for the health of our bodies. So we're gonna push out to the sides palms out to the sides. Then we're gonna turn the underside of the forearms up and pull in. So imagine that you're pushing against a force on the way out, and then you're pulling like resistance bands as you bring your elbows closer in to the side body. Press out what you don't need, draw in what you need. Press out what you don't need, and then pull in. And now we're gonna do these pulsed pulls, say that 3 times fast, pulsed pulls, in, in, in. So again, you're imagining that you're pulling a resistance band, so you're really contracting those muscles, really getting that tension in the muscles. 3, 2, 1. Now draw the arms down, shake them out, and then slowly let them rise up as if they're inflating with helium. And bring your hands through to the heart. Find yourself a little more centered. Inhale, and sigh and shake it off. Take your feet wide, and we're gonna take alternate taps here. Now you don't have to tap at the ankle, you can tap higher up. That upper arm is really gonna change as far as how much work you feel like you're doing. If the arm is straighter and you're reaching up, that will feel like more work than if you're just transferring the hand to the waist. But you choose what works for you. And we're going a little bit back and forth, and slow this down if this makes you dizzy. And then we're gonna hold on one side in the twist, hand to the waist or up, shoulder blades on the back. Walk through, and then other side. Breathing here. If it helps to hold the inner ankle rather than the outer ankle, that might help your lower shoulder roll more on your back. Exhale, center. Now, from here, heel toe in. Take the inner feet to touch, bend the knees, and then slowly reach through a chair pose all the way up. Palms facing, the arms can come to whatever height feels right. Press down to rise in that slow transition all the way up, and float the arms down. Roll the shoulders back and down a few times. And we'll go wide again. Some of you know that one of my favorite moves these days is to do an alternate lateral bend. So we're gonna start that either high up on the leg or touching down, wherever feels best, side to side, because we're also getting into the inner thighs, as well as the glutes, as well as the quads. And then from here, we're gonna transition it into a slide and a reach. So you're gonna put more weight into the knee that's bent that side and slide the other leg up and reach the arms. We're gonna stay on the same side. So step out, softening the knees. Bend that same knee, slide in, reach up. Step, bend, slide up. You can really make the arms do whatever you want. You can do more of this sort of rowing up, or you can take it all the way up. Side, slide up. Side, slide up. One more. Side, slide up. Mountain pose. You can feel that heart rate get up, especially sometimes if you do something on the same side over and over and it's one leg, that really gets the heart rate up. These are large muscle groups of the legs. Okay, go wide. Go down to the other side, bend. When you feel ready, you'll slide in, reach up, reposition, bend, slide, reach up. Oop, that wasn't very. So I'm kind of showing you in a few ways, like stepping, bending, and sliding up. But you can do it more in like a fluid movement, like so, where you bend and step at the same time, or you can do it more in that kind of 3, 2, 1 movement. 2 more. Last one. And mountain pose. What I love about these movements is that I'm not looking for it to be perfect or that you're doing exactly like me. What I'm looking for is that you're moving, you're getting to the joints and the muscles, and you're doing it safely. Breathing here. A little bit of upper body. Come to your all fours position, and here's where if you want to pad your knees, you can absolutely do that. And we're going to scoot the knees further back than the hips. Take the shoulders a little more forward, draw the elbows back, and take a little bit of a modified chaturanga. This is actually different because chaturanga, your hands would be further back. It would be more of a 90-degree bend. This is a little different. Instead of taking the elbows out to the side, try to train track them alongside of the body. You can slow it down. You can take a tinier bend, a micro bend, almost imperceptible, or you can be coming all the way down and all the way up. If you are coming all the way down, move your hands further back so that your shoulders don't hike up around your ears. One more, and then that lovely child's pose. Breathing, ooh, so nice. Downward facing dog. And then heel kicks. So you're taking fast twitch muscles, so muscle fibers, and you're moving pretty exclusively, heels to sitting bones. Some of you have done this with me. If you want, you can start to turn this into a bit of a run in downward dog, only if that doesn't bother your joints or your shoulders especially. And then if you want, you can do 2 at a time. Little bit of a lag, little hop, always bending the knees as you land. And back into your downward dog, deep breath in, and child's pose. Roll those wrists out. See, I told you we get to that high intensity. Shake that out. We're gonna stay there with that heart rate. Move your blanket to the side. Stand on up, take your time, and then push off one foot, then the other. Your heel will lift as you step into that lunge, your back heel will lift, and you will more, again, explosively kind of rocket yourself off of the ground and back to standing. Forward and back. If you want more, reach and pull, reach and pull. If you want to make it even harder, step further away, only if that doesn't bother your knees. Our bodies are meant to move in all sorts of ways and make all sorts of shapes. What used to be seen as taboo movement, if you look at the science now, it's okay unless you have an injury. All right, a lot of it is. Mountain pose, breathe. Hands over your heart. So your heart is capable of a lot. And when we take ourselves out of our comfort zone, we see just how much we can really do. Last one that's going to keep our heart rate up, and then we're done with that. So we're going to come into a squat that's more like a goddess squat, and then a push, opposite heel lifts, pushing to the side. Center, push, center, push. So there's a turn happening in the pelvis as you're taking this back and forth. Push, hands could be separated for the push or a little more connected. Back and forth. That squat in the middle is the depth that feels best to you. Attempt to breathe as much as you can through your nose. Since I'm talking, and I don't really have the luxury of doing that right now, but it's best for your body if you can get it through your nose until you come to the point where you can't anymore. Then, of course, breathe through the mouth, or at least out through the mouth. One more each side, and center. Shake out the arms. Last standing in the mountain pose. Give yourself a huge internal thank you for all of that you just did. You could have just stayed sedentary today. You could have, but you didn't. Hats off. Come on up to the top of your mat. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold, maybe bend the knees. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, step back and just go right into child's or modified child's on the forearms. If you're in a position where you can use your hands, either if your arms are forward, back, or on the forearms like me, inhale, open the hands. Exhale, bring the fingers to touch the thumb. Inhale, broaden. Exhale, draw in. Last one, inhale. And exhale. From here, we're coming onto the belly. So if you like to have a little padding for your hip bones and your rib cage, I recommend opening your blanket or towel a little wider so you're not putting your rib cage and your pelvis on a different height. And rest down. I'm not going to lay on my microphone because that might not sound good for you guys. Settle down through the spine, the glutes, and the belly. Separate your knees a little, maybe hips distance are a little wider, and then bend the knees and maybe just windshield wiper or side to side, whatever feels good. Swing the hips side to side, which will take you into some internal and external rotation in the hips. And then pick one side and bend the knee roughly 90 degrees out to the side, inner arch down to the floor for a gentle hip opener. It's very much half of a frog and a lot more relaxing. So let go of any gripping that you feel in the hips. Of course, if this doesn't work for you, choose something that does. Bring the legs back together and then go into that 90 degrees on the other side. This is just bringing ourselves a more passive work and stretch for the inner thighs. We worked them very actively earlier. So we want to be a little more passive now. Depending on how you hold your tension and your soft tissue and a lot of factors in your nervous system, some of you will feel this a lot and some of you won't feel this very much. You can always put something under your knee. Just make sure it's not so high up that it's making your hip lift up too high. And then bring the legs back together. And if you would like, you can stay here and rest. If you would like a little more of a spinal twist, you can feel free to bend just one side, and then arm position is really up to you. If you already have a practice with this and you have an arm position you like, that's just fine. Some people like to keep the forehead down and then just roll to the side, keeping maybe one arm straight, just to hold the head on the side. Maybe fingers hold you steady a little bit in front of you as you take the knee up and the sole of the foot down. Some people like to do a different shoulder opener. I'm not going to show that. Again, if you have it as part of your practice, that's fine. And then come all the way back and other side. You bend the other knee, bring that lower arm forward to rest the side of your head on, and then roll the foot till the knee is pointing up. Sole of the foot down. You can tent your fingertips here onto the floor in front of you. And again, some of you might feel this a lot, some of you not so much. That's okay. Even if it doesn't feel huge, it doesn't mean it's not good for the body. And come back. And there are different ways you can do that. Some people like to stay more forward and kind of play with it here. Again, it's really up to what feels good for you. You can make these, this is your home practice. You can make it whatever you like. And then we'll move into our last child's pose, but this time let's take the knees together if you can and breathe there. Forehead could be down on a block or a bolster. You could stack your fists here or maybe palms, tops of your palms. If you know that for Shavasana, you want to roll that blanket under your knees, you can roll that here and set yourself up for Shavasana. If you would like a happy baby pose, another twist, some more hamstring stretching, you can always add that in. If the body is ready to meet Shavasana, then absolutely you can go right there. This is where you settle down and feel the things, right, that maybe you didn't recognize were there first because they were covered up with a little too much clutter or a little too much internal noise. So finding your breath and a deeper listening. I invite you to bring a word or a phrase into your breathing along your breath. My phrase, I'll let you know, is I am healing. So with every breath, I am healing. Release breath by breath, a little bit more of any muscle tension that you find. And we'll begin to add a little bit more breath, some movement, some stretching. Whatever feels good. Bringing the soles of the feet to the floor. And then maybe into the chest. Eventually rolling to one side and up to seated. If you want to add your props underneath you to sit a little taller with the hips, if that feels better, then please set that up. And just give yourself a moment of sitting tall in your alignment, physically, emotionally, mentally, finding yourself hopefully a little more in tune with your inner landscape, with the peace that actually resides within all of us, even though sometimes it seems elusive. Bringing yourself there and bringing your hands together to the heart. Thank you so much for being here and taking time for yourself, treating yourself with kindness so that it's just a little bit easier to treat others with that kindness. Namaste.